Welcome to another edition of Amplify Your Business. Today, we're going to be talking about mental health. We all know with COVID, there has been a lot of strain on a lot of people. And so today is a perfect day to bring in an expert to talk about how we as entrepreneurs need to address our mental state so that we can be healthy, we can perform at our best. And, we have a lot of people that are relying on us as entrepreneurs, as business owners. And so we just want to make sure that we're doing everything that we possibly can to set ourselves up for success so that our business can be successful as well. And so today I have Jessica Derksen from True to You Lifestyle joining us. Jessica, welcome to the show.
Hi, Lance. Thank you for having me.
Thank you so much for taking some time out of your busy schedule today to talk about this very important topic. Now, I noticed in your signature line, you call yourself a life revitalization specialist. What does that mean?
Well, I am such a believer that everybody should be living a life that they love. And to do that, you have to feel alive and have energy and vibrancy and just feel good. The better we feel, the more we're living in alignment with that, the more we're living a life that we love. So I like to just revamp everyone's life so that they have energy and they're, thriving through their days.
That sounds absolutely fantastic. And so we all want to have that. So you are definitely providing a fantastic service. So now when it comes to your business, then tell us a little bit about what it is that you do and how you revitalize everybody's lives.
Absolutely. So I am a certified health and life coach, and I really focus on changing your life by changing your habits. So whatever change you're trying to create in your life, you do those small little steps every single day to create massive change over time. So I don't believe in quick fixes in any area of your life, not just your health. I really truly think to create a life that you love, you have to start with looking at your habits. And that, of course, starts internally with yourself. It's not always about the physical things you're doing. It's really, truly about the internal work and your mindset and loving who you are and to be able to live a life that you love.
And so how do you go about coaching then your clients to do that?
So I really focus on awareness, of course, is always the first thing. So what is it you want in life? What would you love to see more of in your life? What do you want to see grow? Where are you today and where do you want to go? And really thinking, I had this conversation with somebody yesterday. We never really ask ourselves, like, what would I really love in life? We weren't asked that as children. We were just said, what do you want to be when you grow up? What do you want to be when you grow up? But never, what is it you would really love? What would make you feel alive, bring you to life, energize you? So really getting clarity around what it is the client truly, truly wants in their life, and then start by creating a plan. And a lot of this plan hasn't happened because either they didn't know what it was they truly wanted, or they have a lot of internal blockers. They have, a lot of limiting beliefs that come up and stop them. So we do a lot of focus, the internal work, before we really start to see the changes on the outside.
So what do you find in terms of the work that you're doing with entrepreneurs versus non-entrepreneurs? Is there any marked differences between those two groups of potential clients?
I think the difference is the type of stress that they're feeling. So I think the entrepreneurs that I work with feel a lot of added pressure from trying to, have a business, grow a business, be successful in business. Plus a lot of them are, have a family to take care of as well. So there's that kind of extra pressure versus the clients that I work with that are not entrepreneurs. They still have a lot of stress, but it's definitely a different focus of where their stress is at.
Yeah, definitely. And I find also with a lot of the entrepreneurs that I know that I hang out with is that oftentimes we put on this facade. I feel maybe potentially more so than non-entrepreneurs that everything's okay because we're also at the same time in our interactions projecting trying to represent our business. And so we're trying to project success. We're trying to project we've got this all under control. Everything's calm, cool, and collected, right? But in reality, there's a lot of stress that's happening underneath. And so when you're dealing with entrepreneurs then through some of that, how do you break through that kind of that facade, that barrier that they kind of are putting up, the shield that they're putting up, I guess?
Yeah, asking the right questions. It's all about asking the right questions. And you can tell when someone's not being real with you, that you can tell when they're holding back. And, it's just about being really clear with them and saying, this is your life. Like, this is about you. I'm not here to judge you. I'm not here to make any assumptions. It's really, if you don't want to put the effort in, then the growth isn't going to happen. The change isn't going to happen. So it's really about allowing that entrepreneur to understand, like, this is about you. No one's going to know what we talk about. And if you don't want to answer the questions, as deeply as you should be, then that's only going to affect your growth. And so I think by asking the right questions, it really allows them to, we have such a fixed focus, right? Our thinking is so fixed. So really being able to ask the questions to expand our awareness and expand our thinking, and it makes you feel more comfortable and allows you to open up a little bit more.
So what would be a typical exercise that you would have an entrepreneur do to expand their thinking, their mindset?
Yeah, so I think I'm a little bit of a natural interrogator, which is why I've been coaching. Has kind of worked really well for me. I love asking questions. And so when I first start working with a client, they have all these goals and they, kind of drill it down. Where is it you want to work on? And then why? And I'll honestly probably go 45 minutes of asking why and different variations. So it's not just why. Why is brings up emotion, and people get really defensive with the word why. So if you turn that why into a what question, well, what about that is important to you? What would happen if you don't follow through with that? What would happen if that doesn't happen? Whose life will be impacted if this doesn't? So it's really just a series of questions of getting down to, I call it the big motivating factor. So their big why, their big motivating factor. And once we get, go through all of these questions, we can get to that motivating factor. And when we find it, so a perfect example is someone for weight loss. A female is like, oh yes, I want to lose weight so that I can look good in my bikini. Well, that's such a high level why, right? So you drill it down and ask all the questions. And then eventually it's like, well, I really want to feel connected to my spouse again. I feel like our relationship isn't where it used to be. So it's not really even about the weight loss. The true why is about that connection with their spouse and their partner, and working, like building on that again. And so once we have that, then I do what is called creating an anchor. So finding something that's either physical in your environment, a smell, a song, so that when they see it or they hear it or they touch it, they're like, okay, this is my why. This is my big motivating factor. This is what I'm going to follow through on my action steps today.
And so that keeps them focused. Then it recenters them into that.
It's kind of like that accountability in between our sessions.
Yeah. Okay. And so then once you get into that rhythm with them, where you've got now a focal point, they've understood what the why is, and they're focused on that. What's the next steps then in expanding that mental capacity, that mental mindset?
The next step, so they know their goal, they have their anchors. Now it's about working on their blockers and really understanding what are their limiting beliefs, what are the stories they're telling themselves, what are their thoughts. Our thoughts create our feelings, right? Which cause us to take action or inaction, which then is going to equal our results. So if we want better results, then we have to change our thinking. So really, really getting crystal clear on what are your thoughts, what are you thinking, what's serving you, what's not serving you, and then being able to start to tweak those, so that your thoughts are in alignment with this life that you're living or want to grow into.
Yeah. And so with the limiting beliefs, I mean, this is probably the biggest challenge that I've had in my life. And I don't know if it's the same for other entrepreneurs, but I suspect that it likely is that we have these things with our businesses anyway, our success, that we tell these stories that really, if we don't break through those things, it doesn't matter what we're doing on the business side. It doesn't matter how hard we work, who we have around us, if we're going to have, this great client come in or not, to really turn around that quarter. It doesn't matter, because we'll find ways to kind of almost sabotage it, I find, unless you can get those limiting beliefs under control. Can you speak to those a little bit more in detail?
Yes. So for me, what's worked for me in terms of limiting beliefs, and what I always recommend with my clients, is to create a character. So the thoughts that aren't serving you, the thoughts that are holding you back. Once you start to expand your awareness, and I always talk about journaling them, right? So write them down, so you really are crystal clear on these thoughts that are holding you back. And so once you have these thoughts and what they are, create a character. And I've been doing this for years. And then I read it in a book that I read last year, and I was like, oh my gosh, this is what I do. And so in my mind, I have this character, and she's this cartoon character, and she's like ridiculous attributes, and I can vision her so perfectly. And I've named her Patrice. And if you've ever seen How I Met Your Mother, you'll know why I named her Patrice. But So this Patrice, every time she comes in my mind, I could separate her from myself. So it's like Patrice, like, thank you, because these thoughts are trying to save us. They're trying to protect us from embarrassment. They're trying to protect us from failure. So they're not, they think they're doing us a favor. But as soon as, we want to grow, our operating system's like, no, 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 no growth. So you can be like, Patrice, no, thank you, not today. Like, I've got this covered. Like, thank you for keeping me safe for this long. But going forward, I have a plan. I know what I'm doing. I'm okay with this. And if I fall, if I fail, like, that's fine. I'll get back up and I'll try again. But the idea is to be able to really separate yourself from this character. So the more you can really have a total separate character, you can start to separate those thoughts from who you are, from your being, and they no longer have to be your truths.
Really interesting. So I know for me, I've done a lot of work in this area, and some of the scripts, the stories that I was telling myself were really actually from my childhood, actually, and so they were imprinted at that point in which my young mind didn't understand what was actually happening in reality, and so it in turn created this truth that was not a truth at all. And so I was holding on to some of that. And so then when I was able to separate that out from, the child's perspective, the young Lance's perspective on it with more mature perspective, then it's like, okay, yeah, those beliefs were really, weird. I don't know where those even came from or how those were formulated. That story was completely not tied to reality at all. And so for me, it was that disconnecting of that really helped. And so I love this idea. I never heard of that before in terms of creating that persona that you can basically just leave that with that character that you've created. I love it. That's really interesting.
Yeah. And a big part, exactly what you said, is really the getting down, is this truth or is this opinion? Like, is this a
Yeah.
fact or is it an opinion? Because
Yeah.
many of us, our beliefs have come from childhood, right? And so we've believed them for so long that we've never questioned them. It's just the way things are. And so really being able to take a step back and say, hey, is this really as bad as I think it is? Is this really something that happened to me? And if it's usually, most of the time, it's not even factual. Sometimes, yes, it's, I did poorly at public speaking, so now I'm terrified of public speaking. Did you fall off the stage? Were you booed? Like, was it really as bad as you're making it out to be in your head?
Mm.
So getting down to what are the actual facts versus the opinions, and hey, I'm going to learn from this. So now I can push those aside and, turn them into more positive beliefs.
Now, one of the ones that has always dogged me is scarcity. And I think this is something that potentially dogs a lot of or holds back a lot of entrepreneurs as well, because when we are starting our businesses, we're usually bootstrapping those as small businesses. And so there isn't a lot of money that we can, throw around to bring in the resources that we need to hire the staff, to hire the experts, to, get the bookkeeper in place to manage the books or whatever. And so you end up, wearing lots of hats because of this scarcity of resources. And so I find oftentimes that entrepreneurs have a hard time growing out of that. So even when things are starting to get better, they hold tight onto those dollars because it's really it's been kind of like, again, part of that story. It's like, oh, I have to be so careful, I have to watch my pennies because one misstep and this whole house of cards could come tumbling down. And so I have to be just really, really careful with all of the resources. Is that something that you find is happening within the entrepreneurship, entrepreneur community, more so than non-entrepreneurs?
I think from my experience, it's pretty, I mean, yeah, I never really thought about separating the two like that. I guess the entrepreneurs are, especially when they come to me for their health and it's like, oh, well, is that something I really want to invest in right now? Oh, it's okay if I'm, tired all the time. I'll just keep pushing through. So I guess I've never really broken it out like that, but it's kind of, I think you are right. Like the entrepreneurs that come to me for, a session and when we talk about, going forward, it's usually, ooh, I don't know if I want to put the money into that right now. I don't know if I'm ready for that yet.
Yeah, and so I wasn't thinking of it so much in terms of your services, but just, but I think that that's a microcosm of it. Just in general, I find that entrepreneurs maybe hold on. They're just a little bit more dealing with that scarcity issue mindset a little bit. And so for me anyway, and maybe I'm projecting myself into the greater entrepreneur community, but for me, when it came to dealing with this issue of scarcity and changing my mindset around that to a place of abundance, that's when everything just really started to change for my business, Ample Media, in that, the more I kind of let go, the more things came in. It's like I freed up that space mentally in my mindset to welcome then these incredible positive things that were happening, which was just tons of abundance and in more clients and bigger projects and so on. Do you do much coaching around that in terms of attracting abundance into one's life as well?
Yes, absolutely. And this was something I had to work on for myself. And so I work with a coach, I work with a couple coaches for different things. And that was at the beginning, I was like, I don't need a coach. I am a coach. I'm not going to, I can't waste my money on this. Right. And then as soon as I got a coach, I was like, oh my gosh, like how this, the tweak in my mindset, and just like you said, with abundance, thinking about it as abundance instead of scarcity has just changed so much. And it does for so many people when you can really, really work on that. And even it's really interesting that you brought this up, because this week I had a conversation with these ladies and they're hosting a networking event, and it's not free. And so, you invite some people and they're all entrepreneurs, and their response. And I think, with COVID, there's so many free events out there that now it's like, oh, I'm not going to waste that penny on that because, and it's not even an expensive event, but it's just, I won't waste a penny on that because there's so many free events. So they're going back into that kind of mindset, which is really not a good thing for them. And it's not going to help with the growth as well. But I was definitely in that boat and working with a coach. And I did actually work with the second coach on, I don't know if you've heard of emotional freedom technique, like tapping.
Oh,
So it's
tapping,
really
yes.
tapping. So we did a lot of tapping around that and growing into that abundance mindset, and it opened the doors. And you're not focused on counting pennies. You're focused on, so much more in this place of service. And it just opens the doors for so many things beyond just the monetary value.
So this is the really strange thing, Jessica, that for me anyway, is I've always lived very much in this place of giving first, like just serving people and just trying to help people. And so in that sense, it should align really well to this philosophy of abundance. But for some reason, then I was also really held on. There was a lot of scarcity mentality that was around the financial side of things. And so I'd be giving of my time, giving of my finances too, and just really trying to serve and to help people. And so I wasn't getting the full benefit of that until I really dealt with the scarcity issue. And so what I've always found is that the more I give, the more I receive, which is exactly that, right? That's the law of reciprocity, but it is really placed around this idea of abundance. And so it's just really interesting that me, even though I've always given, I still was really constraining myself in terms of what I could attract back into my life because I still had this issue with scarcity, which is just interesting, I think.
And a belief maybe you learned as a child, a belief of, oh, I can give my time, but I can't give my money. It's still, I don't know if I can spare that dollar or spare that kind of thing. And so many of us have really, really tight beliefs, I guess, around money from childhood. And I think, I don't know, like the generations have just been, money doesn't grow on trees. Oh no, we can't afford that. The way we were talked to about money, that conversation needs to change for the younger generations. I 1000% agree with that. I think we need to change the way we talk to kids about money, the way we shouldn't be so scared to talk about money. And I think that's what creates that kind of scarcity mindset.
Yeah, it's ridiculous the way that we frame, scarcity around money when we're talking to our kids. And I catch myself doing this all the time with my son.
Yeah.
And it's silly. It's really silly. Like you mentioned, like there's so many little statements that we make that,
Maybe
that are
just
basically
keep them a
pounding
little
on that
bit,
point is
right?
this is really scarce. Hold on. Don't release, don't
Yeah,
enjoy abundance.
I heard this guy talking the other day, and he said it so perfectly, and I'm probably going to butcher the way he said it, but he said instead of saying to your kids, "Oh no, we can't afford that," teach them, "Hey, this is why we value our money. So what do you think about if we put it into this instead?" And like talk to them about valuing money and the importance of that
Yeah.
versus, "Oh no, we can't afford that."
Yeah. Okay, so now, how long have you been in business for then?
3 years this month.
Okay, that's really cool. So 3 years, you're celebrating the anniversary this particular month, which at the time of filming this, everybody, this is right at the beginning of February 2021. And so we are in a pandemic still for the last 12 months, essentially here. We've been dealing with this pandemic situation. What was your business like pre-pandemic versus during pandemic, and then hopefully we can do a follow-up interview about post-pandemic, which hopefully will happen soon.
I was really lucky. So my business has always been online. Majority of it was over the phone. I have clients all over Canada. So I was never really saw clients face to face in that sense. I was a lot more over the phone. And the funny thing is I could have always done Zoom with them to see them. And as soon as that pandemic hit, it was like, okay, let's do Zoom. I'm thinking, why didn't I think of this before? Now we get to actually see each other. I know what you look like, because some of these clients I've never met in person. And so Zoom has definitely been a huge change. But business wise, I was very fortunate during the pandemic. And I think because the area I focus on mindset and health, especially at the beginning of the pandemic, people were eating their feelings, really eating their feelings. They weren't taking care of their mental health, their emotional health. And so I definitely saw a big increase in customers and clients over the pandemic. So I've been very, very fortunate that way. But it also comes with this side of the amount of people struggling, right? You can see the struggle in a lot of people. And so that of course isn't the beautiful thing about the business.
Yeah, it must be in some ways almost discouraging to see so much more issues around mental health and so on. But at the same time, I mean, your business is set up so that you can help people and obviously, earn an income doing that. But so the opportunity for your business is increasing, but at the same time, being somebody who cares about just our global community and the people that are
Mhm.
in it, it must be a little bit of at odds emotionally for yourself as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And I've been like really focusing on emotional awareness over the last year and really feeling my emotions. And I don't think it's healthy to bottle things away and push them down. I think it's really, really beautiful and powerful to be able to feel your emotions. And so I do, and I don't take on clients' pain
Yeah.
and emotions, but I'm really, really feeling it- all of it kind of, and the good and the bad. And there's a lot of beautiful wins, but
Yeah.
there's a lot of people definitely struggling. And I think there always has been. I think it's just become more okay to talk about it since the pandemic. I think it's become more okay, I need to get this figured out. Or who knows, especially right now, a lot of the clients I'm seeing now, who knows, it's already been a year. We thought this would be like until last summer. So okay, I'm ready for some help. And it's not like these are new issues that were brought on by the pandemic. A lot of them have, been going on for a long time. But now I think the pandemic was like, okay, if I don't fix this, I don't know what could happen.
Yeah, exactly. And so there's definitely been much more issues popping up, mental health issues, since the pandemic, and that's hitting the news on a regular basis. But also at the same time, like you said, I think that there's just a greater a, ability to talk about it now than what we had before. People are more willing to discuss it, and I think it's been something that's been building the last few years, where mental health is something that employers are now taking a look at. There's more programs that they're putting in place, especially some of the larger institutions, so that they can deal with that as part of their workplace health and safety, programs and whatnot. And so it's really exciting to see that shift in the way that people are more open and willing to talk about it. Now, speaking to that, then, you probably are working with businesses as well, I suspect, in them, dealing or helping bosses essentially, and maybe that's the entrepreneurs and the owners, dealing with their staff who are struggling. Any guidance that you can give to entrepreneurs who are wanting to make sure that their staff are mentally in a good place and are dealing with this pandemic and everything else that's coming along with it?
Yeah, I think one of the biggest thing is, regular check-ins. I think so many people that I've seen, you're working from home and you're like, oh, they're home, they're okay, it's fine.
Yeah.
But checking in with your staff regularly is so important, and asking the questions. I think for so long, especially, leaders in companies and businesses, they've never been trained how to deal with emotions and how to deal with mental health. So really just asking the questions, are you okay? What can I help you? How can I support you? Have team meetings around it. How can we support each other? Have accountability partners, kind of set up like accountability pods with people that need that extra support with one another. But checking in is huge. And just, time, not checking in on projects, not checking in on, numbers, just check in with each other. Like, how are you doing? Like really doing inside. Have it start off one of the groups that I do. We always start off with a joke and we start off with a brain teaser. So it's fun. It's something fun. It's exciting. It's something to look forward to. And then you just chat and you talk and have a coffee or tea. But checking in is huge. And I think another big thing that I'm seeing is now that people are working from home, they're expected to just work all the time. Oh, you're at home. Okay, you can work till 7 o'clock at night, no problem. That is not okay. They didn't do it before. They shouldn't be expected to do it now. So really, really being respectful of their time, their personal time, their work time, not calling them 24/7, not having these expectations that you didn't have before. So really being aware of that and giving them time off, giving them time to go outside, move their body. That's the number one thing we can all do right now, is continuously move our body. So giving them that time to be able to do that.
Yeah. And so do you have any programs that for entrepreneurs or for bosses, so that they kind of have some sort of guidance to work on, or is it more where you're just coaching them on a one-on-one basis and providing them advice ad hoc?
So this is something that's been really new to me recently, and I am actually in the middle of creating a program because I've had these one-on-one conversations and one-on-one coaching with these certain people. So I am putting a program in place right now because I think it is such an important need, and I think it's something we all could use right now.
Yeah, I think that there's a great opportunity there, and the audience that we're speaking to right now, I'm sure is going to be able to benefit from, that the coaching and having some sort of program like that. Because, one of the things that I don't do a good job of, I don't think, and I try to be as conscious about it as I can. I shouldn't say that. I want to be. I shouldn't say that I try to be, because I don't think, like I said, I'm doing as good a job as I could be. And that is that just quick personal check-ins with the staff and being really intentional about that, because we, as the bosses, the managers, we're oftentimes just talking to them about the numbers and talking to them about the projects, or talking to them about the work and checking in on that. So how's things going with that project or this thing that you're working on? And we just don't take that as often as we should, the moment to just pause and say, you know what, how are you doing? Like, how's things going?
And intentional and really check in. Don't be, hey, how are you doing? But on your phone,
Yeah.
right? How are you doing? I have a million distractions. When someone's like on Zoom, but they're really not on Zoom, right? Don't do that, because then they don't feel heard. People want to feel connected. They want to feel heard. And when you can offer that to your staff and your employees, it'll help them. It really will help them.
Okay. Well, okay. So we don't have time to go, super deep into all this stuff, and we're really just scratching the surface. And I know that there's going to be people who are going to want to follow up with you. How can they reach you?
So they can go to my website, truetoyoulifestyle.com, fill in forms there, or just email me, Jessica at truetoyouhealthcoaching.com, and send me an email. check in on my website and connect with me. I'm all over social media at Jessica Derksen Health Coach are all my handles. So I'd love to connect and have more conversations.
Sounds fantastic. And so, for anybody out there who really feels that they could benefit from a life revitalization specialist, you know who to talk to. Jessica here is going to help you out. And this is something, again, just really being serious about this. This is really important. Our mental health, the mental health of our employees, as business owners, the health of our business is really the health of, determined on the health of our employees. And so we invest there, we take care of them. And on top of that, we take care of ourselves, make sure that we're in the right mental state. That is truly going to be the biggest thing that you're going to be able to do for your business in 2021. It doesn't matter, and I get into those business plans, and we've done some episodes on that. I get into the strategy building and everything else. It doesn't matter if you don't have the mindset and you don't have the people in the right mindset as well to execute on those things. So those plans are just going to be a waste of time, quite frankly, unless you are actually doing the groundwork, lay that foundation, make sure that you and your team are healthy. So thank you so much, Jessica. I really, really appreciate your time today.
Thank you so much for having me.
Okay, so for those of you who like this episode, want to watch some of our other episodes, we talk about all things marketing and business, and we interview entrepreneurs who have got some interesting stories and inspirational, histories of their business and how they grew things and so on. There's a lot of great content over in our archives, and you can reach that at amplimedia.com/amplify. And I hope that you check out our next episode. So until then, everybody, please stay safe and mentally healthy. Take care.